anymore. This is the sort of thing I would cut out of when I'm not actually live streaming it. It's just the Disney Q&A now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Disney Q&A. This is the series in which you all send me your questions regarding all manners of Disney, whether it's the park or the history or the games or anything like that, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. As always, we are exploring MC Magic, the 1-to-1 scale recreation of Disney World, while answering these questions, and I've got a bunch of really good ones. The first question that I'm going to cover actually was asked by, I don't know, virtually everybody. I think I got a good 10 to 15 questions regarding this subject, so I figured I'd just tackle this first and foremost. Shanghai Disneyland. Oh man, Disney came out with a whole bunch of details for Shanghai Disneyland. They showed a little concept video of Tomorrowland. They showed a lot of concept art. They sort of talked about what the parks are going to be like, what the different areas are, and a lot of people are wondering what I think about Shanghai Disneyland. And so Shanghai Disney looks really awesome. I love that they're doing things differently. I love that Tomorrowland is themed very differently from any of the other Tomorrowlands we've seen. And it's funny because it actually reminds me a lot of Tomorrowland in Disneyland Paris. Obviously, they don't look the same. They're not themed the same, but they are sort of themed based on a decision that is similar, which is that these are two cultures or parts of the world that didn't experience the sort of Norman Rockwell 1950s American sci-fi wave that we did. And that's what our Tomorrowland is based on. Our Tomorrowland is based on the Jetsons and what we thought the world of tomorrow was going to be like. But that whole phase of society did not hit, Europe. It did not hit Asia. And so they wouldn't relate to that. They wouldn't relate to that style. And that's why over in Disneyland Paris, you have more of a Jules Verne steampunk style future, which they can relate to. And here I think it's just more of a modern, sleeker look, sort of like the original idea of Tomorrowland, which is futuristic and everything looks cool. The Tron coaster looks neat. It doesn't necessarily look exactly like what I would have wanted for a Tron coaster, but then again, all we've seen are very short clips of CGI, really poor CGI videos, so who knows what the actual final product's going to look like. I think it's cool that they're putting something Tron there. It's completely unique to anything in any of the parks, really, so that's nice that they're not just copying everything. That said, I think the Tomorrowland preview is very indicative of sort of what you should expect from this park, which is that you have to remember, a theme park like the Magic Kingdom that we have today in Florida didn't start that way. It started a lot emptier than it is now, and it's been decades and decades of expansions that got us to the point that we're at. And the reason I mention that is because as far as we know so far, Tomorrowland and Shanghai Disneyland is 3 attractions. It's the Tron coaster, this Buzz Lightyear adventure that we didn't really get to see, and then there's this, I think, what is it, Jetpacks, which is essentially like Astro Orbiter or Dumbo or any of those ride mechanics, and that's it. And I think that's a taste of what you're going to expect to see, which is you're not going to see a ton of attractions, and you never really would whenever the park's brand new like this. And it's going to have 2 hotels, it's going to have a shopping center. It looks really neat, and it looks like a park that I'm probably going to want to go and visit when it eventually opens in 2016. And I can't wait to see more details, which I imagine we'll get over at D23. Now, jumping into our first, I guess, singular question here, we have DMAC3600 who asks, do you think Disney will ever replace/fix Animal Kingdom's Expedition Everest Yeti? If you don't know, the Yeti is in B mode, which means it doesn't move and swing. And the reason that it's that way is because due to an engineering flaw, if it did that too much, it would damage the ride, and it would be catastrophically damaging. And so they turned it off. And from everything we've heard, in order for them to fix it properly, it would require a massive renovation of the ride. And so really, I think the go-to answer here is, yeah, they'll probably fix it one day, but they're going to wait for something like Avatar Land to be finished and open so that there's another big draw for crowds so that Animal Kingdom doesn't lose its only massive e-ticket attraction. But eventually, yes, I think it will. Moving on to the next question, we have Tiffany, aka Neonosaurus, who asks, do you think Disney should implement Disney hotels based off their rides? And if you could pick, which ride would you base a hotel off of? It's interesting because they kind of do that. They don't do it based on rides, but they've sort of originally did it on a theme, right? You had the Polynesian resort, which was sort of supposed to be analogous, which is supposed to be sort of a mirror of Adventureland. You had the Contemporary in Tomorrowland. You had the Grand Floridian, which kind of I think you can argue was very tied to like that Main Street old school style, and they were very very loose connections. Obviously, not an official connection. But I think they contain the spirit of those part of the parks. But if you're going to do like an advanced, like a specific ride, everyone said in the chat, like not in the chat, in the comments, Tower of Terror, which sounds like a no-brainer because it's a hotel, but it's also a terrifying hotel, which is not really where I'd personally want to stay if I'm trying to get a good night's sleep. I would want to see something, I think, a little more futuristic. Maybe something like a Space Mountain or a Horizon. Why not use hotels to sort of be spiritual successors to retired rides? Make a Horizons hotel where some rooms are based on Seabase Alpha and they're like underwater rooms, and some are based in the desert where the farms are, at Mesa Verde, and then some of them are in space at Brava Centauri. I think that would be really cool, and that would be my answer now. Whenever I could find a reason to tie something into Horizons, I will tie it into Horizons. Our next question comes from Kevin Clinky, who says, I'm going to Disneyland in 2 weeks and I can't wait. I have a question. Why does Disneyland not have the magic bands and Disney World does? So he's talking about the magic bands, the little rubber wristbands that now act as your room key and your pass for the parks, and you could charge items on it. I don't know if they had announced plans to bring it over to Disneyland. I feel like I remember there being an article about that. That said, didn't, I would imagine it'll happen eventually. I think the reason you didn't see it open on both at the same time is because this was very new technology. It's a very new program, and it's very expensive to implement. You have to have all these trackers installed in all the attractions. You need to get a whole system put in place so that it can work with sales and hotel rooms and all of this. It's essentially, it's a very expensive endeavor. And for something that's so brand new that they're just testing out, they're not going to go ahead and full blown put it everywhere. And they decided Walt Disney World would be the place to test it on, and they tested it. And I would imagine, since they're still using it, that the tests are going well. And so I would imagine that they're going to move it over. And again, they might have actually already announced it. I don't know if I'm making that up in my head or if it's just wishful thinking. But, you know, I can expect it to hit there eventually and to end up in Disneyland. It'd be nice if they did it within the next couple of weeks so I could use it at Disneyland and Disney World, but I imagine that probably won't be the case. Okay, next question is from Matthias Machado, who says, everyone knows Disney's Hollywood Studios is going to have a big reboot. Many attractions have been closed, but at the same time, some work has been done. Consider, for example, the removal of the hat and the revamp of the Great Movie Ride. It has also been confirmed that its name is going to change for a third time. If you could choose a name for the park, considering what the rumors are about its new lands, Star Wars Land and Toy Story, are true, what would you name it and why? Sorry, and thanks for the long question. No worry for the long question. So they're going to change the name again. They're going to introduce all these new rides, and it is assumed it's going to be Pixar or Toy Story based, as well as Star Wars based. There have been like little rumors of like Indiana Jones stuff. And I think the big rumor is that they're going to name it Disney's Hollywood Adventure. That way you'd have Disney's Hollywood Adventure and Disney's California Adventure. I'd be okay with that, I guess. To be honest, I don't see a problem with Disney's Hollywood Studios. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The MGM name change made sense because their partnership with MGM ended, so they had to change their name. And I think Disney's Hollywood Studios made sense. I guess if we're using sort of antiquated ideas of, you know, a movie studio theme park, yeah, the park doesn't really fit within that mold anymore. But then again, would you even say that Universal Studios fits within that mold anymore? I don't think it does. And so I think we could just allow the meaning, the idea of a movie theater or a movie studio theme park to change and just keep Hollywood Studios. I'm okay with Hollywood Adventure. I don't think it should have anything specific to like a brand like Star Wars or Toy Story. It should be generic. I feel like this is all about movies and the movies. So, you know, I guess I can't really think of a better name for it. Things like names for theme parks are weird because I feel like no matter what, the name's going to sound weird at first, especially for something like this where it's already been using a name for so long. But then, before long, it gets changed. And I remember people who were, when it changed from MGM, they were like, I'm going to call it MGM forever. And of course they didn't, because you just get used to the new name. And that just happens. That's beyond theme parks in general, too. I mean, we're in New York and they tore down Shea Stadium and put up Citi Field, and everyone's, I'm going to call it Shea Stadium no matter what. Guess what? They didn't. They started calling it Citi Field because that's what it's called. And I think whatever happens to Hollywood Studios, whatever it's named, we'll end up calling it that. And I'm sure whatever it is, it'll be fine. And they're smart enough that they're not going to sort of pigeonhole them into a specific brand by calling it like, a Star Wars related name or anything like that. Anyway, on to the next question. We have Copycat705 who asks, what do you think of the $3 billion price tag that is rumored to be for the Disney Hollywood Studios revamp? What do you think can/will be coming that is not Star Wars or Pixar related? When will all this be open? Why am I asking so many questions? Thanks and have a great week. $3 billion price tag, awesome. Awesome because the company's doing really well. They've got money to invest a proper amount of money to put these rides together in the right way is what I like to see. I would hate to see that number lower. And you know what? I'm not an expert on engineering. Maybe that number should even be higher. Maybe not. $3 billion is a lot of money. It's more than some of these theme parks even cost as a whole. So if $3 billion is true, I think that's awesome. I think that means we're going to see some amazing quality come out of these parks. What do I think will be coming that's not Star Wars or Pixar related? Nothing. I think maybe we have a shot at seeing like an Indiana Jones thing later down the line, but I don't think we're going to see anything that's not Pixar or Star Wars related. And I'm okay with that. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a Pixar fan. I'm just super thrilled about Star Wars coming back. And so if all of this expansion was Star Wars only, I'd still be thrilled. When will it all be open? That's a great question. I imagine we're going to see some solid details at D23 this year. And then I imagine it'll be like a year or two before, maybe it'll be a year when we start to see smaller things open up, and then 2.5 years before we start to see the bigger stuff open. You got to remember, Disney thinks long term, and they should think long term because that's the healthier way to look at it from a business perspective. Next question is from Bowie Badger, who asks, there's a rumor going around that Universal's deal with Nintendo has expanded into a brand new theme park based on video games as a whole. One of the video games rumored is World of Warcraft. With this new rumored park and the new water park that they're building, Universal is starting to look like an iconic Florida attraction, and this means that they could be a pretty big threat to Walt Disney World. What do you think? So there is a rumor going around that, well, basically everything Bowie Badger just said is rumored. That said, I looked into the rumor. It comes from one source who quotes an anonymous source, so really take it with a grain of salt. It could be totally fake. We have no way of knowing right now. Nothing official is on the table. That said, let's play make pretend. Make believe. Let's play make believe. First off, I would say that Universal's already an iconic Florida attraction. When you think, vacationing in Central Florida, you think Universal and Disney. I think Universal has earned that spot. I think if it grew this way, it would definitely take up more of a share of that spot, but I think it's already there. I think a theme park exclusive to video games would be amazing. I think that would be so great because it would be I think a significant mark in video games as a medium to show just how mainstream they've become, how widely accepted they've become. I think it's novel enough that it would sway a lot of people into checking it out. I certainly would. I'm the kind of person who, I'm going down to Disney World next month, and people ask me if I'm going to Universal, and the answer is no, because you have to jump through hoops to get there, because I don't have a car, so I'd have to rent a car or take a cab. I'd have to pay for the extra ticket, and at the current state, the Marvel stuff, the Harry Potter stuff, none of that is enough to sway me to deal with all of that, to get out there. I wouldn't turn down a ticket if I had one, but I'm not going to take the time and trouble to make it happen. But if there's a theme park based on video games, Nintendo games, World of Warcraft, that sort of thing, in a heartbeat, I would make sure I get down there because that's so new and exciting. World of Warcraft makes sense because Universal is putting out the movie. And so, I don't know. We'll have to see. That would be really interesting. That would be pretty bold on their part. I would like to see it happen. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see if it does happen. My door keeps opening. It's the heat pushing it. Since new people have joined, just to sort of go back on what I said at the beginning. Right now, I'm just going through all of the pre-picked questions for the video. Once we're done, I'm going to open up the questions from chat, and then we're just going to keep doing this till about 1 o'clock. So on to the next question, which is from Disney24. Disney24 asks, when you go to Disneyland, are you staying on property or off property? After asking that, where are you going to stay? Have a magical week. So I'm doing both, actually. When I go down for my trip, Christina and I are going down. We're going to hang out with Keith Lappenig, who's down there. We're staying off property for like most of the trip, and then like we've mentioned in the last Q&A, so much of the Disney experience is staying on property. So even though we had a place off property to go to, we booked a night on property, so just to have that experience and see what it's like. And so I'm excited. I'm not going to say which hotel because, one, I don't fully remember. I'm not like leading this trip as much in the planning phase. I feel like Christine is doing most of the planning for this. I'm really just winging it. And then two, just because, I don't know, if that's security or maybe, I don't know. One of the hotels. I mean, there aren't a whole lot to pick from, but I think my preference was the Disneyland Hotel, because isn't that the first one that was made way, way back when Disneyland first opened? Not first opened, but, way, way back, in Disney history. It's the more historic of them. So that's my preference. I don't know if that's what we ended up going with. I'm going to have to check. Let's see. Our next question comes from Blake Wood, who asks, I'm going to be on leave from the Navy in December, and my fiance and I want to go to Disney World. Is it better to go at the beginning of December or January? Also, with all the renovations to Hollywood Studios, do you think that it is now only a half-day park, similar to how Animal Kingdom was? So to answer your second question, because I think that's an easy answer, yeah, I do. I think a lot of the closures in Hollywood Studios has temporarily set it back into being the sort of half-day park that it was when it originally opened. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's certainly a bummer for people who are going at that time. I'm going to be one of those people. So, I definitely am bummed about some of that. But, at the same time, again, it goes back to an earlier question where long-term health is important for the Disney World as a resort and as a company. And so, I think it's okay considering we know they're going to be expanding it. If they were just closing stuff and then to cut costs and then it just stayed cheap and like a half day park, that'd be kind of a bummer. But knowing that they're going to expand again is what's, I think, important. So for your first question, beginning of December or beginning of January, I think, and I hope people in the comments are able to chime in and give their 2 cents, because I certainly don't think I'm an expert on this, but my guess would be beginning of December. It depends on how early in January you're talking. I've been down for New Year's, and I can tell you, Christmas time, place is packed. New Year's, place is packed. 2 or 3 days after New Year's, it really gets empty. So if you're talking like early January, like a week and a half into January, then I think that'd be a perfectly fine time to do it. I think early December, you've got all of the Christmas stuff is going to be up, so you'll have that to experience if you're into that sort of thing. Thanksgiving will be over, so hopefully the crowds will thin out a little bit. Again, it depends on how early in the month you're talking. Are we talking the day after Thanksgiving, or are we talking about like, a nice middle point between Thanksgiving and Christmas? Weather-wise, I think it's going to be pretty similar regardless of which you pick, although I think Florida natives can speak better to that. As a New Yorker, when I go down there, it seems all the same to me. And by the way, it all still seems like shorts weather, whether it's August or January, it always is shorts weather coming from New York. So I think Disney, this is one of the places where you can't go wrong regardless, but I would guess December would be a nice one, especially you get all the Christmas decorations and stuff. So let's move on to the next question, which comes from B-Fish Alex Imagineering, who asks, do you think that the Animal Kingdom was premature in its creation and the Imagineers should have pushed the project back 5 years to a decade to further work on Hollywood Studios and Epcot? If so, what differences do you think we would have seen or would you have liked to seen in Animal Kingdom? This is an interesting question. I like these sort of what-ifs because we can base it a little bit on history and then a little bit of guessing. I don't think Animal Kingdom was premature in its creation. I think it was at a point where it made sense to do. Disney was doing well financially. They had the money to put into it. It was making the parks a bigger draw. The problem was after 9/11, the economy got rocky, tourism became rocky, and so a lot of the reason that the Animal Kingdom didn't develop the way it was originally intended to was sort of out of Disney's hands and completely unforeseen. Had they decided to push it back 10 years, they would have been doing so on a completely random whim. There would have been no indicators that they would have had these problems. You know, there's a lot of talk about how there was going to be a whole part of the park based on these mythical creatures, and that ended up getting pushed off because of the economy. And so I don't think it was a bad idea. I think because of the economic issues that we ended up having in the early 2000s, had they pushed back Animal Kingdom 5 years, there is the distinct possibility that we just never would have gotten an Animal Kingdom. They would have canceled the project because, you know, it would have been economically feasible, and then we just never would have gotten it. And then maybe today we would be talking about rumors about a fourth gate. So I think it's great that they made it when they did. I don't fully agree with all of the decisions on how they put like stopgap solutions to not having enough content there. In particular, Dinoland USA, I think so much of that area is just like really cheap in quality. And you can argue, okay, that's the story, is it's supposed to be like a carnival, but I don't like fully buy it. But I'm still glad that it exists because now they have something to grow from. And it was some rough times. But again, it all goes back to this central core of like, you need to think long term. And I think that's what Disney's doing and what Disney's smart about. Next question is from Lucario, one of those three, fan. Hey Rob, I have two questions for you. Would you think? Let me restart that. So our next question comes from Lucario. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Fan. Would you think that getting rid of Living with the Land would be a good thing for Disney? Man, that's tough. I'm an advocate for change in the parks, but I loved Living with the Land. I think the real question is, what would you put there? If you got rid of it, you need to put something in that space. And I think that space isn't a big canvas for another new exciting attraction. So I think whatever you put there is going to be similar in style. So that said, I'm all for a new attraction. I mean, I do Revisiting Disney. I'm always all for a new attraction. But as long as it's in the same focus, I think that's fine. I do think there should be a ride about that. I think it's an important thing that we need to teach people about or keep people aware about. It's about just being, resourceful and renewable and trying to keep it clean because we only have this one planet. I know this is weird and going off on a tangent, but recently last week we discovered, or NASA discovered, we didn't discover, but NASA discovered probably the closest planet we've ever found that is Earth-like. I think it's Kepler something b. It's a little bigger than Earth, and it's about as far away from a similar sun as Earth. And oh yeah, it's 1,400 light years away. And I think it was a great reminder that we're here now. We're stuck here for quite a long time. Definitely everybody watching this, in your lifetime, we're not going to land on another habitable planet. And so it's important that we take care of our planet. And I think something like Living with the Land sends that message. And so in order to replace it, I would want to make sure that message stays intact because it's one that we need to teach people about. All right, I'm done being preachy. Let's move on to the next question, which comes from Julian Suarez, who asks, what's my favorite Disney fact or trivia? Also, what do you think about Disney banning selfie sticks? Oh, we covered the selfie sticks in the last episode. We know where we stand on selfie sticks. But what's my favorite Disney fact or trivia? I think initially I was trying to think of my favorite, and I thought it would be something that's like really unknown or really obscure. But I realized that would only be my favorite because it'd be an opportunity for me to, lord over people who look at all the stuff I know. No, I think my favorite Disney fact is that Roy Disney was all primed and set to retire, and then with his brother Walt passed away, he pushed off his retirement to complete Walt Disney World, or at least the first stage of Walt Disney World. And it's my favorite because, realistically speaking, he didn't have to do that. He could have written off Disney World as Walt's idea and say, without Walt, this idea can't happen, so we should scrap it, sell the land, retire anyway, use it as a natural point to step away from the company and just distance himself. But he didn't. He put off his retirement to make his brother's dream a reality and to try and get that done. And he himself died shortly after Walt Disney World opened. And I think the idea that he sacrificed, unknowingly, admittedly, but he sacrificed the remainder of his years to make his little brother's dream come true is just like a really touching fact, and that's why it's my favorite Disney fact. And that was apparently the last question this week for the Disney Q&A. I want to thank you all for the fantastic questions. As always, if you have a question that you would like answered, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Feel free to tweet them at me. I'm at RobPlays. Whatever you're doing this week, make the most of it because it makes it that much better. If you want to see more Disney videos like this, all you have to do is hit that subscribe video. 3 Disney videos a week. Cool stuff like this. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye, guys. All right, and that was the Disney Q&A, and now I'm totally willing to open up the floor to the chat. I'm ready to answer questions, Disney related, not Disney related, all up to you. I'm not actually leaving, by the way. The stream's still going. That was just for the actual Q&A video. So, what questions were you throwing out? Blake would ask, is it cliche to propose to my girlfriend at Disney World? Yes, but that's not a bad thing. Cliches are cliches for a reason. It's because they resonate with people on an emotional level. I have seen in-person proposals at Disney, and they are always touching, and they're always great. And I don't think the fact that they're a commonplace should deter you at all if that's what you're thinking of doing. As for like how you should do it, I mean, obviously that's a very personal question and it's going to depend on you two as a couple and what you connect with. But I've seen it done. I think the most memorable proposal I've seen at Disney is it was at the Cinderella fountain behind the castle in the Magic Kingdom. And I loved it because it was at Disney, but it wasn't like super showy. It was in this like private little quiet part of the park. And there was a little group that watched and it was like a very cute moment. So, you know, there's one idea to throw out there. What do I think of the Tron coaster? Oh, I mentioned it earlier on in the Q&A. I think it doesn't look like what I would imagine, but we've only seen concept art and like this little CG video. So it's too early to tell. I will say I love the building facade. It looks super neat. And I hope they have Daft Punk music playing. Let's see. What's my best Disney moment? My best Disney moment. I think it was like in my 2012 trip with all my friends. We did a morning where we just sort of split up because when you know, there's this saying, what is it, like food like bread and friends, they each last 3 days. The idea of us in a cabin for 6 days, we just like split up. We took our own time. I needed time to relax, and I was walking through Future World alone, and I didn't even go on any rides. I just sort of sat down and hung out for a little bit, and it made me realize that that's how much I love Disney, is that it's not the rides for me. I could go to spend a whole day at a Disney theme park, never ride a ride, and still love it because of the atmosphere. And I think coming to that revelation was really great. And so that was, I think, most memorable. Top 5 World Showcase countries. That's a lot. That's almost a good half of them. So I'm going to go with my top 2. I'll say Germany and Italy. For the food and for the food and for the food and for the food. They're both my favorite for the food. Jacob proposed at World Showcase. There you go. That's another beautiful place to do it. It all depends on, like, you know, what parts of Disney she likes, and, you know, maybe there's a certain memory that you had at Disney that resonates. But yeah, going back to that original answer, yeah, it's cliche, but it's also really like touching and great, and should totally never. I hate the idea of like shying away from something just because it's a cliche. Shy away from something if you don't think it's going to work, but cliches are cliches for a reason. That's what I learned in film school. When am I going to Disney World next? September, and I'm going to be having a meetup. In fact, let me pull up my calendar so that I can let you know when I'm doing all of these things. I need to start mentioning it in videos more just to get the word out there. So I'm going to be in Disneyland August 22nd. That's a Saturday. And I'm going to be doing a meetup with Christine. And I believe Keith Lapinick is going to be there. And it'll be in Disneyland by the castle. And then on September 26th, in the Magic Kingdom in Disney World, we're going to be doing a meetup probably again by the castle. And I believe that's going to be at noon. So we're going to be doing that. Do I think Star Wars Land will be coming to Shanghai Disney? Nope. I think they are going to want that to be a draw to Florida's Disney, so I think they're going to keep it Universal. Maybe one day they'll add stuff to Shanghai when they expand, but I don't think it's going to be part of the launch. If MC Magic could build a retired attraction, what would you build, or what would you like them to build? Horizons. If you could create an overlay for any ride in any Disney park except for Space Mountain, example Space Mountain, what would it be and what would you do? It would be an overlay for Mission Space, and they would replace the video with different planets, like just to honor different achievements. Like we just took photos of Pluto for the first time ever, or like good photos of Pluto. So swap it out with Pluto to celebrate that. Celebrate science rather than just a holiday. Celebrate, achievements like that. Do I think Rock and Roller Coaster refurb is coming since the deal with Aerosmith is coming to an end soon? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe. I hope. I think a Tron coaster would be cool, though. Again, inverse to the Star Wars stuff, I think they'd want to keep that exclusive to Shanghai Disney for now. Monsters Inc. I think could be really cool, but it wouldn't. I was gonna say it wouldn't fit with that whole Hollywood Boulevard theme, but then again, Rock and Roller Coaster doesn't really fit with it either. So let's see. Yes, September 25th at high noon. What are my thoughts on Shanghai Disney having the biggest castle? Why not? Bigger and better. Why not use our engineering smarts? I imagine the applicable laws in Shanghai are different, because I wouldn't imagine that Disney would do that if the new height for the castle would cause it to have a blinking light. I hope that's. I'll be bummed if it's the biggest castle and has a blinking light on it, because I think that they're smart to keep it under that for immersion purposes. But otherwise, I don't mind. Let's see. Top 2 Disney Pixar movies. Monsters Inc. is one of my favorites. And I guess Toy Story just because I remember seeing that in theaters. I feel like I've got a history with that movie. I grew up watching these Toy Story movies, and it's amazing because when I was a kid, I watched Toy Story and I loved it because it's the idea of toys coming to life. When I see Toy Story 3, I was bawling like a baby at the end, because as an adult, I can relate to the idea that he was growing up and you have to let go of your toys at a certain part, and that, as silly as it sounds, you have an emotional connection with them because they were part of your childhood. So, and the joy of passing them on to someone else. So the Toy Story series in general was great. Let's see. What do I have planned for the meetup at Disney World? I don't know, honestly. I've never done a meetup like this before, and I don't know how big it's going to be. My thoughts were, if it was a larger meetup than I'm expecting, then we'll just sort of hang out there for a bit, I would just want to talk to the fans and, get to meet them and do that sort of stuff. If it's a tiny group, which I think might be the case, just because I feel like setting a meetup in a theme park, months in advance, I feel like that's like filter after filter after filter, so it filters down who's going to end up being there. But if it's a small enough group, I say let's go on some rides together. Let's do group rides. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But we'll see. We're going to play it by ear. I've never really done a meetup before, so it's new to me. Change the Soarin' video. I'm all for that. Favorite Disney ride of all times? Horizons. Currently, Spaceship Earth. Let's see. If you could build a new Disney resort, what theme would it be and where on the grounds? Also, do you think a monorail expansion of the boardwalk makes sense? Downtown Disney, I think it makes sense. Boardwalk, I think it would hurt the theming of the boardwalk, so I wouldn't want to see it there. I would like to see something. Don't do that, because you know what? I think the value resorts are very popular because they're more affordable, and I think they're all grouped together. You've got that road that connects all the all-stars in the Pop Century, so put a hub there so that you can do a hub to just the value resorts. I think that would be great. Will the Main Street Electrical Parade be coming back to Disneyland? I don't know. That seems like that's something that would require a little bit of research. I don't know off the top of my head. What's my favorite Disney character to interact with in the parks? The last character I feel like I've interacted with, I like interacting with the cast members more than the characters. Like, I like interacting with the bellhops at the Hollywood Tower Hotel or the Haunted Mansion or things like that. But I'm excited to meet Gaston in Disney World because he seems like a fun character to hang out with. Let's see. If I were to take a cruise, would it specifically have to be a Disney cruise? No, because Disney cruises are super expensive. I would love to do a Disney cruise, and I think it's on my bucket list of things to do one day, but I'm not like, it doesn't have to be a Disney cruise, and I don't have to do Disney for the first cruise. I'm willing to go on a cheaper cruise first, just to see if I feel like cruises, you're either into that thing or you're not, and I don't know if I am, so I need to do a cruise to find out. Jacob's wife thinks they're going to have to add resorts soon since they're closed to full booking all year. Yeah, it's very possible. I don't have the statistics on that, but I would not doubt it one bit. A lot of people complain because, the crowds during the off season and they're not doing, free dining, although they are doing free dining again this fall, but, less promotions. And I think the thing to remember is that these promotions happen because they want to entice people to visit. If enough people are visiting, you don't need those promotions. And I think seeing that change is an example that more people are going. More people are wising up to going in the off season. And I think part of that is Disney's being seen less as a purely family place and just a cool vacation place to go. Like we got a generation who grew up maybe going as kids who now might go as young adults. And so personally, like me, as somebody who does not have kids or is not married, I could go any time of year, really. Like I could take my vacation days at work and go whenever I need to. So that summer block is no longer crucial. I can go in a September when it's less crowded. And I think more people can do that. And so you get an even more even spread across the year. What are my thoughts on pin trading? It looks like a really fun hobby. I don't go down enough to partake in it. It's also kind of expensive. Those pins can get pricey. I think it's cool that they've done it. I just don't. I feel like if you're a local, it's a way better hobby because you can go down there often and trade and get new pins. And you could still do it if you're away from Disney through online, but I feel like it loses a little bit of its fun if you're just buying and selling on the internet. Am I going to do a Q&A at the meetup? I mean, I'm certainly open to answering questions at the meetup. That's an interesting idea. Christina and I are going to do a top 3 in Disneyland and in Disney World, but it's going to be broken up. It's not like we're going to set a time and then we're going to go do it. It's more like we're going to try and think of a topic. Disney World will be easier because we've been there before. And then when we're in the area relevant to the top 3, we're going to just film that little bit. Maybe at the meetups, we can do like intros and outros for these videos because I think that would be cool. Favorite resort? Contemporary. It looks so super futuristic and I stayed there once and I want to stay there again. And I think every decision I make in life is so that I can have a job that's good enough so that I can afford a nice long week in like a great room with a view at the Contemporary. You know what? It's funny. I don't buy Disney pins, but I got Penny Arcade pins, which is inspired by the Disney pins because I know Mike from Penny Arcade is a fan of the Disney pin trading. Disney Hollywood expansion coming. What do you think should be added, expanded, or removed? I don't have anything new to add to that beyond my revisiting Disney's. I have one on Star Wars Land where I talk about how I take a whole corner of the park and convert it into a Star Wars land. That's what I want to see, essentially. A lot of these revisitings are getting to the point where there's stuff I'd love to see. Some of them I'm willing to wait a while so I can still enjoy the older ride, but I'd love to see them one level or another. Did I ever stay at the Floridian? No. Fancy, though. I always find myself in the Grand Floridian, even though I've never stayed there. I think there's always one moment or another where my friends and I or family and I will either eat there or we'll just get off and walk around and shop there just because it's such a pretty hotel lobby. Like Disney, I mean, a testament to their theming, the idea that you can go to Disney and hang out at a hotel that you're not even staying at and have a good time because it's just themed so well and it's such a great atmosphere to hang out in is a really cool thing. When I get back, will I be doing revisiting Disneyland? Yep. I definitely will be. I mean, it's going to be tough to revisit something I just rode for the first time, but, I think it's more about the fun creative exercise. I just feel weird saying, like, this is what we should replace Indiana Jones with when I've never ridden Indiana Jones. Am I going to California Adventure? Yep. I'm going for a couple of days, so we're going to do both. Hopefully we have enough time to cover everything. If Horizons was brought back, but we're only going to do the meetup in Disneyland because if people don't have a park hopper, we don't want to have to exclude them. And we had even talked about doing the meetup right outside Disney for people who don't have the passes, but we figure our mentality was anybody who's in the area and going to visit probably has a resident pass or might have days on a pass, odds are. And if they're traveling a long distance for this, which would be crazy and I couldn't even fathom, odds are they're going to go to Disney anyway because they're right next to Disney. So we're doing them in the parks, but we were trying to keep it to one park. I was a fan of doing Epcot for the Disney World idea, but I think Christine just sort of defaulted to like Magic Kingdom made the most sense because it's the most Disney out of all of them. But for some reason, I guess because whenever I do like these group hangouts on MC Magic, I go to Epcot because there's more walking room and there's more space to go around. In my mind, I thought of doing Epcot in the real world. Do I like Soarin'? Yeah, it's okay. I don't love it. I like it though. It's enjoyable. What do I think about diversifying choices based upon theme, i.e., African food in the animal kingdom? I think that's a great in theory. Unfortunately, I think the business reality is it wouldn't do well. I think a lot of tourists who come to Disney aren't adventurous eaters. And so I think Disney's been smart about that. And they try to find something that maybe represents the spirit of that culinary area, but at the same time is safe enough that you're going to have people who will eat it. Because I think there's a lot of food out there that, people aren't going to touch because it's different and too new to them. So, it's a balance they have to make, unfortunately. I think events like Food and Wine, where it sort of goes, hey, this is for foodies who want to try out all this cool, weird food that they've never tried before, is a good way to balance it. Do I have a Twitter? Yes, I do. I am at Rob Plays. I'll put it in the chat here. Whoop, nope, that's not it. There we go, at Rob Plays. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I usually tweet when new videos are out. I tweet before I do live streams like this. I'll tweet before I do regular video game live streams. Also, if you want to follow me on Periscope under the same name, Christina and I will be periscoping at Disneyland and Disney World when we go later next month and the month after that. So I've already done like another Periscope when I got this baby here. I did like a little unboxing Periscope, so I'm going to try and do that more. Am I planning a night to go to Trader Sam's? Is that like Trader Joe's? What's my favorite place to eat in any Disney park? This is going to sound weird, but my favorite place to eat would have to be Cosmic Rays Starlight Cafe in the Magic Kingdom, the Sci-Fi Dine-In in Hollywood Studios, the Electric Umbrella or Beer Garden, or Italy for Epcot, or China for Epcot, or Canada, or Japan, or Living with the Land, or anywhere in Epcot, really, just anywhere. And Animal Kingdom, I don't really have a favorite place in Animal Kingdom, to be honest. I think we have a reservation for Yak and Yeti when we go down in September, so I'm excited to eat there somewhere for once. I feel like since that's always been a half day, we always go in the morning, we hit all the big rides, and then we go have lunch somewhere else. So I haven't really eaten in the Animal Kingdom. Have I ever seen a Disney character fall? Nope, just on YouTube videos. Where am I staying at Disney World Land? Oh no, my resolution. My little dot here on YouTube streaming just went from green to yellow. What's that about? Hold on. What if I pause this? Will my internet connection get better? We're staying at one of the Port Orleans in Disney World. I'm a big fan of the Port Orleans. Inside Out becoming much more popular. Do you see them putting that in the Wonders of Life? I hope they do. I don't know if I can say with all complete honesty if I see them doing it from a practical business standpoint, but I hope they do. I think that'd be really cool. Do I like Dole Whip? Yes. If I go to New York, where would you recommend to get a good slice of pizza? Answer in best Brooklyn accent. Oh, you want good? I can't do a Brooklyn accent, and I lived in Brooklyn for a while. The truth of the matter is, you don't have to go to a specific place for a good slice of pizza. The truth is, you want to avoid places for a bad slice of pizza. Don't go to a chain. Don't go to Sbarro's. Don't go to Familia. Don't go to Ray's Original. There are all these pizza. If it's near a tourist trap, near Times Square or 34th Street or anything like that, avoid it because it's not going to be good pizza. Just need to find like a run-of-the-mill mom and pop pizza place anywhere in Manhattan or Brooklyn, and you'll get a good slice. Some people say like, oh, go to DeFara's, but you're going to wait 45 minutes for a slice. That might be good, but isn't very representative of New York pizza. There's Lombardi's in Soho, which again, great pizza, nice place to sit down and eat pizza. Not very representative of like the typical New York slice that like I'd get from the pizzeria today, which I'm going to do now because you mentioned pizza and I haven't had lunch yet and I'm hungry and now I need pizza. But you can mix it up, have pizza from a couple of different places, A lot of these are shooting through here. What happens if there are no characters in the parks? That'd be pretty boring. If Horizons were brought back and you were in charge, and you could make one change, what would it be? It would be to change it completely. I feel like Horizons closed. I love Horizons, bottom of my heart, but it closed for good reasons. People were bored with it. It was antiquated. Take the spirit of Horizons, that excitement for the future and what life might be like, not just for our kids and grandkids, but for us, what it might be for us in 20 or 30 years, and put that into a new attraction and make it new and exciting. And that's what I would want to see. Best carpet other than the contemporary would have to be the Disney Magical Express buses. Alternatively, I think any carpet in the lobbies for the All-Stars. I'm not joking here, by the way. I'm being serious. I think any of the carpets in the lobbies for the All-Stars are great because they have that carpet air about them, but the lobby's still spacious enough that you still get a breeze and you don't feel stuffy. So I would say that. Like, there's too much carpet, not enough carpet. And I think the All-Stars have like just a perfect amount of carpet. They're like marble flooring, but I think they have like carpet strips and parts of it. And so it's just like it's like a highlight, a touch of carpet, a hint of carpet, if you will. What happened if Frozen didn't have Let It Go? It might be, wouldn't be as popular of a song. Am I going to spell the carpets? I told Christine that we should do a top 3 carpets in Disney World video when we're down there. I don't know if she thinks I'm joking or not. I'm being serious though. Can I solve a Rubik's Cube? No, I cannot. I can solve it in that I'll throw it away and then my problem's solved because I don't have to deal with a Rubik's Cube. But it's impressive if you can. I've never been able to do that. What else? I appreciate the love of carpets. I smell like dolphin. I just feel like, you know what it is with the carpet joke? That started as a joke, but it is known that smell is an amazing sense when it comes to memory. You can smell something, just a hint of something, and it can bring back a flood of memories. And carpets, I think, have a distinctive smell. And for some reason, some wires in my brain crossed that the smell of carpet, rather than reminding me of carpet in my old apartment where I grew up or houses or anything like, it reminds me of Disney. So like that is a smell that, you know, I try and think of other things at Disney, and I don't think, while they put a lot of smells in there, like, you know, you pump the smell of oranges. I don't think of Disney when I smell oranges. I think of oranges. But the smell of carpet, boom, I'm back at Disney. And so I love carpets. I don't know. What do I think of the food in the cafeteria in the hotel? Food is fuel for me when I'm at Disney. I love Beer Garden. Beer Garden and Italy are my 2 choices for where I like want to indulge in food. But otherwise, it's just fuel for me to keep going. And so I love waking up and going to the cafeteria and getting breakfast at the cafeteria, or, you know, something like that. I'm a big fan of the fast service stuff. Especially when I went in 2010 with my friend Laura, we were on the dining plan for free. So much food. I can't imagine how much weight I gained. That because the dining plan just overloads you with food. Man, good times. I wish we had free dining. We're going in September while they're doing free dining, but we were too slow on grabbing a room with free dining, so no free dining for us this year. Have I ever been on a Disney cruise? Nope. I would love to. You know, it looks like they do it well. They know what they're doing. Can I do a house tour? Well, this camera has a pretty limited range, so I can do a behind me tour. This is my office behind me. It has a couch, and it has all of my passes from all of my Comic Cons and my PAXs and events. And through that room, you could see my bookshelf in my bedroom, and you can see a little bit of my dresser, and you can see, you can't see that poster because of the glare, but that's actually Horizons art. It is art of all 3. It is Mesa Verde and Brava Centauri and something. What's the last? Why am I Sea Castle? Sea Castle. Actually, let me see if I can find the link to that, and I'll send it to you. Horizons Disney art. Let me see if I can find poster. Welcome to Googling with Rob. This is where Rob does Googling, and then oh, look at that. Perfect. I found it instantly. That is the art that I have hanging up in that doorway. Which Disney ship do you think is best? The Magic, Dream, Wonder, or Fantasy? Never been on any of them. Can't make that call. I should do a new series of building a new park from scratch and talk about a new land, restaurant, or attraction each episode. I love that series, and I would love to do that series, if only for the fact that I'm terrible at building in Minecraft, and a series like that would take years and years and years to complete. Look what MC Magic completes and how long it takes them to complete something, and they have a team of people who are really talented. I am one person who is really bad at building and planning. I love the idea of coming up conceptually, maybe not in Minecraft, but just being like, here's my idea for a new park, and then walk it through episode by episode, similar in the way that Walt Disney had his Disneyland television series to introduce people to Disneyland before it opened. I just need to do that. Can't wait for Food and Wine. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be my first Food and Wine. What was my reaction of Starbucks replacing the ice cream place right where the Epcot character spot? I don't mind Starbucks being in Disney at all. Like, one bit. You have to remember, when Disney opened, the standard business practice was you got a company to sponsor an attraction. And so seeing like, oh, it breaks the magic, Starbucks is in Disney. Like, well, you know, Chevy is at Test Track, you know? And I think it's great that Disney is able to recognize that people did not like their coffee. They wanted something else. Starbucks is sort of like the standard with coffee here in America. And so they went with Starbucks. As somebody who doesn't drink coffee, I don't care either way. But I don't mind that Starbucks has a presence there now. Will I make this available as video on demand of this unedited? Yes, I'm planning to. I'm planning to just have this up and then have the cut down Disney Q&A for anybody who wants to. We got about 5 minutes left, so get your questions in. What ride or attraction at Disneyland do you wish that Walt Disney World had? Ooh, I want to say Indiana Jones because it's the most different out of everything. Yeah, Indiana Jones. Have you ever been to Fort Wilderness Campground? Yes, I stayed there in 2010 and 2012 in the cabins. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. I'm not a big fan of nature, as some of you might know, and I felt like it didn't feel Disney enough. I felt like I would just be in a cabin, and so I was worried that it would take some of the magic out of a Disney trip, and the truth of the matter is it didn't. It didn't at all. It just, you know, it was still a Disney vacation, and so I loved it. And I ran on the trails there with my friends. We did running in the morning, and I think we're going to do that again. We're going to do that with Port Orleans this time. We're going to do some Port Orleans jogging. What else? Bakery has a limited selection with Starbucks. Again, yeah, I mean, that's best cue music. Space Mountain, the cue music. I can listen to that. It's so relaxing. Do I like candy apples? I like the idea of caramel apples, but I also like the idea of having my teeth. And I feel like candy apples are a great way to lose your teeth. Not from the sugar in the cavities, although I'm sure that's a point to just the pulling. Oh, no, I can't. No. Give me an apple. You know what? Give me an apple dipped in like soft chocolate. I'd be all over that. Sort of like a chocolate dipped strawberry. But the hard shell stuff, I can't. My teeth. Ooh, no. Do I ever play Club Penguin? Nope. That is beyond my age and era. That's not. I've heard of it. I know about it, but it came out long after I've sort of aged out of it. Do I think Epcot characters should have more characters outside of Mickey's gang? Yeah, I do, especially in the countries. We should see more country-specific characters. Do you find the blinking characters creepy? Have I been on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train? No. Do I think the characters are creepy? No. No. I think it's different. You know, there's certainly going to be an uncanny valley there that they're going to have to cross. Hey, Lib is in the chat now, and so we got to really up our Disney game just for Lib. With the rumors that the Dream Along with Mickey show at the castle is going through refurb and possibly being replaced during it, what type of show would you think replace it? I don't know. I can't give you a new plot for that one. Do I like my chair? I've actually was looking for a new chair here. This chair we're talking about? I'm okay with this chair. This chair's okay. It's a little creaky. Creakiness is a big problem with me. I got this chair at a point where like I just needed a chair, so I got whatever was available. I don't want to get one of those race car chairs, even though I'm doing more streaming now. I don't know why that's such a thing with streamers, or the race car bucket chairs, but I do want to get a nice chair. And I think one day, maybe this year, I'll get a nice chair. Which Disney World park would you get rid of? None of them. Why would I gotta get rid of a Disney park? Why would I want to do that? Have I ever been to Disneyland Paris? Nope. I would love to. But you want to go to Florida? We'll trade. You go to Florida one day, and I'll go to Disneyland Paris. I would love to see Tomorrowland and Disneyland Paris. Do you agree that Disney Quest should have a floor for One Man's Dream and a floor for Magic of Animation for a free attraction to draw people to downtown Disney? Yeah, I do. I think that'd be great. I would love it more than Disney Quest, and if One Man's Dream is going to close, then they need to put it somewhere. Do you think Star Wars 7 is going to be a flop or success? I think it's going to be a massive critical and financial success. I think it is going to break records beyond all belief, and I'm super excited for it. Do I think parades at the parks are annoying? Not one bit. I think they're a lot of fun. Why would I not like a parade? They're all good time. Best shop in the Magic Kingdom. I think that's a weird question because the shops in the parks have become so similar to one another that I can't pin one. I guess the candy shop, because it's candy. I love walking through that shop, and then I go, oh, I want all of these things, but luckily we're heading to a ride, so I get to push it off and not eat all that candy that I would want. Did I see Pixel? Nope, and I have no intention to. Adam Sandler, I want to say he's hit or miss with movies, but let's be honest, past decade or so, he's just been miss. So I have no interest in Pixels. Am I glad Disney Quest is closing? I'm glad something new is coming along. I never really liked Disney Quest. I went there once. I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it to the point where I wanted to see it gone, but if something new and better is going to replace it, then sure. That said, everyone's saying NBA Experience is going to be put there, and I'm not a basketball fan, so I think it'll go from one attraction I don't really care about to another attraction I don't really care about. But that's okay. Disney has so much stuff that I don't need to be a huge fan of everything that's there. That's what's so great about it. There's something for everybody. Adam Sandler should retire. You know, he does these movies. He knows he's making bad movies. Adam Sandler does it because he essentially has admitted he does it just to keep his friends employed and to give them and the crew all a job because he works with the same crew in every movie, and he uses it as an excuse to go on vacation and make movies. And to an extent, I can't harp on him for that because, like, he's living a dream of his, you know? On the other hand, I have no interest in seeing any of those bad movies. What do you think that the new theater near Tower of Terror on Hollywood Studios will be used for? I don't know. Are they removing Beauty and the Beast? Favorite Disney World ride? Oh, right. Spaceship Earth Current and Horizons Past. I blanked on that even though I've answered it a million times. How do I like the updated test track? I haven't ridden it since it was the old test track, so I'm going to ride it for the first time in September. I'm excited. Would you like to see a Frozen 2? What would I like to see in Frozen 2? Something original. When it comes to a sequel, you can't have too much fan service, too many callbacks, or else it just becomes repetitive and gross. You want something original, but you still want some classic staples that make it feel like what it is. Who was my favorite Inside Out character? Still technically haven't seen Inside Out. I guess that's the only way I haven't seen Inside Out, technical or otherwise. I haven't seen Inside Out yet. I kept meaning to go see it, and I kept pushing it off. The problem is I don't live near a movie theater, and on the weekends, I don't really feel like taking a bus in this summer weather to a movie theater. And then during the week, I usually have so much on my plate. I'm going to get around to it eventually, but I need to see that. I need to see Jurassic World. I need to see Ant-Man. I need to see Mission Impossible comes out next week. Too many movies. Do I think Frozen ride is good? I think it will be good, and I think it'll be a nice breath of fresh air for Epcot. So I'm excited for it. I'm apparently in the minority of people who was excited when I heard news that they were closing Maelstrom and putting a Frozen ride. What would Walt think about Disney World? I think he'd be a little bummed that Epcot, the city, doesn't exist, but I think otherwise he'd be very impressed that a lot of his classic beliefs and staples when it comes to running a business still exist today, decades and decades later. Why is hyperspace hoopla in Star Wars Weekend gone? My guess, I don't think we have an official answer for that. My guess is because now Disney owns Star Wars and they're putting out these movies, they want to be more careful with how they treat the IP. And so they don't want to have Chewbacca doing a dance if he's going to be in a movie in a couple of months, and they want to have a certain image of him portrayed. So that would be my guess, is they don't want to use those characters in a way that's overly silly. I'd imagine before they bought Disney, it was more like, we don't care yet. But now that they've got a movie to tie to, they're probably going to want to be careful with it. What do I think of Perry the Platypus in Epcot? I don't have any thoughts on that. I've never seen Perry the Platypus, And is that the replace the Kim Possible, right? It's not because they ran out of ideas. They don't close the Disney Imagineers will never run out of ideas ever. They will never not have an idea. So that I do not believe will ever be the answer to why something closes. We don't have any more ideas. It's usually a business decision. It's usually a long-term strategy plan that we don't see the whole picture of. They might be replacing Hyperspace Hoopla with something even bigger and better, but it might not be another 2 years or so down the line, and we just don't know about it yet. And so the only part we're seeing is the closing of Hyperspace Hoopla. But I highly doubt that the answer is just like, well, we couldn't think of any new dances, because there's always going to be someone who could think of something. And there are always new trends, especially with that, because it's so based on the trends of music and dancing of that year, and that's always changing. There's always going to be something to draw from. Do you think something will replace Push? Unfortunately, I don't, but I would love for something to replace Push. Specifically Push. All right, let's get one more question in. So make it a good one, and then we're going to wrap up for today. I want to thank you all for joining me before we get in this last question. If you want to see more of this, I mean, it seems like you guys love it. Maybe I could do this like normally. I could do the Q&As live and record live. I think that'd be a lot of fun. If you want to know when I'm going to do stuff like this in the future, please follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Plays. You can follow me on Periscope for when we Periscope our trips to Disney. We've got those 2 meetups coming up. Again, that is the 26th, Saturday, September 26th in Disney World at noon at the Magic Kingdom. And then on the 22nd, is it 22nd? Yeah, it's the 22nd of August, another Saturday. I don't know what time yet, but we're going to be doing it in Disneyland. We're going to be doing a meetup. If you want to see more non-Disney live streams, I also stream on Hitbox. It's hitbox.tv/RobPlaysThatGame. Let me put that in here. Just a heads up, these are non-Disney. Oh, interesting. I can't put that link in the comment, and it's Hitbox competition, maybe. But just a heads up, they're non-Disney games. They're sometimes non-family friendly games. It's just for normal my